Ho, 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 and happy holidays from Haman Nature. Since it's so close to Christmas, I thought I'd give another gift to you. This is another bonus episode from behind the paywall at hamannature.substack.com. And this time it is Tyrone, the porcupine hobo, and me talking about what those pesky kids are actually learning at today's modern colleges and universities. It certainly isn't what 15 times 4 equals. Enjoy.
Haman Nature, a journey in search of a peaceful and prosperous society with human nature as a guide. Led by your host, Adam Haman.
Hello and welcome to Haman Nature. With me, as always, is my homeless, spiky friend, Tyrone.
What's up, Adam?
Hey, Tyrone. I thought we'd do another show where we go over one of my brilliant articles. I'm just going to say brilliant. My writing on Substack, adoring crowds. I'm telling you, folks, if you're not catching the articles I email out to you Monday through Friday, I'm sorry, but you can rectify that tragic situation by going to hamannature.com, which gets you to my Substack, and you can sign up for free. And yeah, I'm writing articles. I think they're interesting. And sometimes the porcupine and I like to talk about one of them. And we're going to do that today. In just a second, I'm going to ask Tyrone to play a video. And before I even describe, yeah, in fact, why don't you just play that before I describe this article I wrote that I just titled "What is 15 times 4?" Let her rip.
Sounds good.
15 times 4.
15 times 4.
Gosh.
20, 30,
23?
20.
24, 48, 48, 48. It's 48.
I would say 48 with her.
I'd say 48.
Why did I say 48?
Well, as you just witnessed, folks, that was a train wreck. And that video went sort of viral, which is why I decided to talk about it. But almost everywhere you'd see, usually conservative pundits, just talking about how stupid children are and about how crappy our schools are. And, this is all the left's fault. And they're so expensive, these colleges. And, how can we possibly justify sending our kids there so they come back stupid and hate us? And I thought all those were good points, but I wanted to make a different one because people were saying, well, what's going on? Our kids aren't learning anything at these schools. And that's obviously not true. They're learning how to conform because, well, and they're learning to not be properly humiliated when they don't know obvious things. But what happened there was the alpha of that group, the young lady on the left, as soon as she decided on an answer, the other three just kind of sort of pretended that they knew that that was the answer too, that they'd computed it. And oh yeah, no, she's right. It's 48. It's not 48.
49. It's 49.
As I said in the article, I did find it kind of funny that the first dumb guess that somebody put out was 23. I think it was 23. And then one of the young women wasn't willing to go with 23. She's into 24 because I think she knew that it couldn't be odd. I think she had the idea that it had to be an even. I don't know. I found that interesting. But yeah, they're proud. They think it's kind of funny that they don't know, a grade school question. And then they just immediately groupthink and back the play of somebody who confidently asserts an answer that she knows she doesn't know. She knows it's not 48. She just feels like we're looking kind of stupid here. I'd better answer the question.
Mm-hmm. Do you think? So I know the main thesis of your newsletter there was that they're learning to conform, but again, let's go back to the human nature thing. I mean, I think, we always say teenagers succumb to peer pressure and things like that. How much of this do you think is just learning to conform, being indoctrinated by a formal educational system versus just wanting to be part of the group and fall giving into that peer pressure?
Damn it, Tyrone, you're absolutely right. Now I wish I'd thought of that before I wrote that article. Because, of course, part of our species process is that we conform for the first several years, couple of decades, maybe even 3, and that's part of our strength. We just blindly accept whatever is fed to us, and this is how we join a group, learn to thrive in that group, and then hopefully a lot of people forget this stage, but then you're supposed to surpass that teaching and start thinking for yourself. After
Mhm.
you've mastered what you've been given, you're supposed to learn the skills to critically reevaluate it, criticize it. Um, so I don't know. I guess maybe the fact that these are adults. It seemed like they should be past the point of, oh, and well, here's the thing. At the age of in their early 20s or maybe 19 at the earliest, um, they should be beyond conforming for the sake of our species at 15 times 4. They should have mastered that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, we could criticize this video on two fronts, and I think it's pointless. It's just we just be banging our own drum to say, "Oh, the education system has failed." Yeah, yeah,
Well,
that's obvious.
three fronts. I mean, the video was framed terribly. You couldn't see the interviewer, you could barely
Oh,
see the chick on the left. So we'll criticize it on 3 fronts.
okay, sure. So I'm not interested in getting into the education. I mean, if it's not obvious now that the education system in this country is a disaster, then I can't help you with that. I think where, but again, I guess it is a criticism of the education system. No one's learning how to critically think anymore. Um, forget that you don't know the answer to the question, and it could have been a complicated math question, let's just say, or a complicated question on a different topic, and you don't know the answer. It doesn't seem like anyone in that group even took a moment to raise a question about it, to say, well, wait a second, yeah, how can we figure this out? Just someone blurted out an answer and everybody goes along with it. So, like you said, I think when you're younger, uh,
Hold on.
okay, go ahead.
They didn't even get to that level. They didn't even have the basic honesty to say, "I don't know."
Yeah,
They tried to
that's a good
fudge their
point.
way through it like a precocious 4-year-old.
Mm,
Maybe I got a 1 in I don't know how many numbers there are chance of getting it right. They thought they could just bluff their way through?
yeah.
Have some integrity. You know what? I am a sophomore at this institution, and I don't know the answer to that question.
Hmm.
You could have said that.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like, man, I hate to sound like the old guy. Yeah, the
It's what we
older
do.
generation always says the younger generation is lost and messed up and things like that. But it seems like more and more, this stage of becoming independent is getting older and older and older.
Yes.
So
Yes.
people are marrying later. People are, um, it just seems like they're not growing up as quickly as previous generations did. And I think once you hit that age of around 25 to 30, man, it's hard to change your way of thinking and viewing the world after that. So if you miss sort of that window of sort of independent thought and like, I'm going to figure out who I am and try to figure out the world on my own, and you just spend your whole college life conforming to, like you're in high school in getting under peer pressure, I'm not sure you ever get out of that. So,
So
I
you're
think
laying this,
that's kinda what.
at the feet of, the helicopter parenting and similar things that keep children in a prepubescent state or, in a never
I
grow
don't
up.
know where to lay it at. I still think we mentioned this in another episode. I still think, man, as weird as this sounds, the corruption of our monetary system has a lot to do with this. And I just think, okay, Here, I've been trying to rephrase something that Jesus said, because I think he had sort of the right idea, but was
Are you
but was
referring to the
wrong about
parable of 60? What is 4 times 15?
it. That's in the lost book of you know the Maccabees or whatever. But no, it's the famous, the love of money is the root of all evil, right?
Sure.
And Ayn Rand had a comment on that. Yeah, I think in Atlas Shrugged, and of course elsewhere, where she sort of takes that apart. Um, I, I, but what I'm getting at is I think our money has become so corrupted that I think a corrupt money equals a corrupt society. So I think the better way to phrase it would be the love of a corrupt money is the root of all evil. And what I mean by corrupt money is our fiat currency system that we have in place today. We went off a hard gold standard, or whatever commodity standard you want to set, and I think that just that imparts the moral hazard, and it takes a while for it to sort of, when you first go off it, when you first do it in 1913, you get the Federal Reserve, and then FDR partially takes us off the gold standard, and then Nixon finalizes it in 71. um, I think we are seeing finally the effects of it. I don't know if it just takes about 100 years to get to that point. It takes a few generations. Each one gets a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit more corrupt, and we're now to this point. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Did I just go off on a weird
Yeah.
tangent?
Well, no, I mean, it's an important tangent, but this is actually one of the few problems that I'm not going to lay at the feet of the Fed. Um, they are a big part of why tuition costs so much.
Okay.
That and the government guarantees behind the student loans. It's a bunch of the Fed creates the inflation, and then bad policy sort of directs where it goes. It wasn't an accident that the you know 06, 07 bubble that popped in '08 was fueled by the housing crisis. The Fed did what it did, and then government
Mhm.
policy shoved all that money towards housing anyway. So the Fed is and inflation is responsible for the price, but I actually think maybe not the stupidity of these people, but their infantile behavior. I don't think that's a Fed problem. I think it has to do with that helicopter parenting thing I brought up, and I think that's sort of a consequence of prosperity, actually. When you're poorer, you have more kids. You don't have the time or attention to constantly mother them, hover over them. As you get more affluent, this is all societies, tend to have fewer kids, and you invest far more money, time, and attention and protection in those kids. And
Mm,
if you're not being mindful towards what your children truly need, which is, to grow up and develop a sense of independence and, their own ability to think for themselves. If you forget that part and you just over mother them and over coddle them, you get what we just saw on that college campus. And there's a book I recommend to our viewers and listeners. I believe it's called The Coddling of the American Mind, by Jonathan Haidt. We'll put a link in the
sure. Yeah.
description.
Mhm.
But that sort of describes, I think, a big part of why we're seeing so much of this on our college campuses. And again, it's one of the few things that the Fed isn't at the heart of, I think.
Well, if that's okay, if that's correct, hmm, see if I can trigger you here, Adam.
Go for it.
If that's correct, then was Marx right that
I
capitalism is a
actually,
self-destructive society? We
oh, he
eventually get
was
so prosperous that we become what
he was
we're
wrong about
describing?
that, because he would say it was inevitable. It's a progress of history, and there's nothing we can do
Mhm.
about it. One step leads to the other, and he's wrong. That's just not the case. You don't have to abandon your value system just because you get wealthy. It's just that many of us do. And he also was correct that there is a class struggle going on. He just misapplied it.
Right.
I like how Hans Hermann Hoppe, I think it was him, if it wasn't Rothbard. Anyway, it was Hoppe. He said what Marx got wrong He had class struggle, right. What he got wrong is what the axis is, what the dimension is.
What the classes were.
It's not worker versus capital owner.
Mhm.
It is oppressor versus oppressed, and the oppressor is the government.
Right.
The institution that thinks it has a monopoly of force over you can tax you and conscript you and boss you around. This is a class enemy. It's not the guy who's offering you a job. That's crazy. But no, there's a lot of people that say that it's inevitable that civilizations fall into decline as they get affluent. I think the catchphrase is hard times
Yep.
make good
Strong
men.
men,
Yeah, strong men. Strong men
men,
make good times. Good times make weak men.
weak
Weak
men make
men make hard
hard.
times. Yeah. And there's obviously some truth to that. There's a danger there. But
Mhm.
just because you get affluent and wealthy doesn't mean you have to lose your virtue. Not all of us do. Um, and I think it's more the poisonous aspect of government is what kills a society, not the fact that it gets affluent. Elon Musk isn't corrupt, except for that subsidies he takes from the government for those electric cars. But
And
but
all the
being
military
productive,
stuff he flies into space
yes.
for the
But producing things and being wealthy doesn't have to make you stupid and valueless. You know, it's a danger, but it's not an inevitable one. We should remember that.
Well, yeah, see, I mean, doesn't kind of all of history sort of point to the fact that it's inevitable?
Yeah, but history is so new.
Yeah,
We have
alright.
not been around very long, and we haven't been rich for long at all.
Oh, that's true.
So it's like all the goofy things we do with the internet. The internet was just invented, and on a human time scale, enough, being fat is new. For the longest time, we were a subsistence a species, and we're just not
Yeah.
that anymore. It's going to take us a while to figure out how to have stuff and not become apathetic, lazy, stupid. The danger is turning into the the humans on Wall E, right? The
Mhm.
ones up there in their cruise liner in space, just fat and
Right,
pampered and absolutely no virtue whatsoever.
right.
Um, that's a good way to destroy your civilization. So, yes, but I'm not black pilled over that. I just think we need to grow up.
Yeah, I've often say to people, don't look around and see all this technology and think we are an advanced civilization or species. I'm like, no, no, no. We've just scratched the surface. Like, I think we're I wouldn't even say we're teenagers yet as a human species. I think we're just getting into our terrible twos and like learning to walk and speak and cause all kinds of mayhem. So I hope we can make it through the next maybe one more generational cycle. But yeah, I think we do just need to grow up. I don't know if we can really do anything to promote that, or if it's just again a
There
natural
is.
cycle we have to go through.
No, there is. And just because you reminded me of it, um, the interview I just had with Bob Murphy, I thought it was really funny that, if there is a God, sometimes he would probably sometimes be looking down the way Bob himself looks down at his infant, who's playing near a light switch or something with something
Mhm.
metallic. At at any moment we could go off the rails. And I think that's not a crazy way for us to view ourselves. We are so new at this game of being a civilized species. Yeah, we're not where we're the final destination is. We're figuring it out, and it's not hopeless. Anyone with a
And so
beard that goofy, talking about Marx here, can't be right about everything.
that's still so I think that explains part of it. I think your take on it was interesting, that you focused not on the educational disaster that they couldn't do a simple math problem in their head, but you focus on the conforming of it, which I haven't heard anybody else sort of pick up on that thread. And I think you're absolutely right. And I don't know if it's just me, and I'm more of a unique weirdo type of person, as Walter Block might call us all libertarians. We're kind of a little bit on the edge or whatever. Eh, but
It's
I
not an edge,
remember,
Tyrone. It's a spectrum. We're
yeah,
on the
spectrum, right,
spectrum.
right, right. But I remember being that age and in college, and like questioning things and wondering about things. And I can't imagine I would be in that same circle of people that we saw in the video and just go along with it. In fact, I would probably openly mock them right then and there, or something, or have that, like, oh man, we're so stupid, like, why can't we figure that out? I'd have some like greater self-awareness, and I certainly wouldn't have just gone along with what the first person
Right.
said if I
I
didn't
know
think it was
exactly
right.
what I would have done. If I didn't know, I would have said, "Oh my god, I don't know." And then I
Yeah,
would have made a joke
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's awful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I'm thinking to myself, 18, 19, 20 years old in college, I would have had that attitude. I'm positive I would have. And the fact that this generation, and again, it's a small sample size. Maybe they just, yeah, it's maybe a little
Sure.
unfair
They
to
could
just
have
pick
tried this
four,
with
four
1,000
random people.
people. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
try it 1,000 times, and then we'll see. But yeah, there's definitely, it's anecdotal, but I think we've all seen it
Yeah.
lately in
The
society, that
reason
people
it went
go
viral is we
along.
have good reason to think that it's not exactly anecdotal.
Yeah, people are becoming very ideological, and whatever the ideological leader says, people are just going along with it, and no one seems to be questioning anything anymore. I mean, except for a few podcasters on the internet, but I don't know. It's
Well,
kind of crazy.
Tyrone, we'll do what we can. And again, thank you folks for watching and listening. And please go to HamanNature.com, sign up for our Substack, and receive articles like this. I can't promise you'll love them all, but I can promise they will all make you think.
They are brilliant, as you said earlier. So I think you're up for the Pulitzer this time around. We'll
What is
see.
taking them so long?
I know, right? Anyway, like and subscribe, folks. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye bye.